Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello everyone. Going to begin with the Class 11 History. The name of the book of Class 11 History is Themes in World History. This is the name of the book, Themes in World History. This syllabus is divided into sections. In the first section, we are coming to discuss about early societies. 3 chapters are given inside this section A. Inside this early societies, first of all, we will have to discuss the introduction of about this section. Second is about from the beginning of time, the moment that the human appear on the earth. What were the different forms, right from the ape till the Homo sapiens? We will entire thing have to discuss inside this chapter. Then the development of the early cities and the civilization. We have to discuss here about the civilization. In this, we have to discuss about that, the human appearance on the earth. And this is the introduction part of these chapters. So first of all, the early societies. What it is written was that the early societies. What it says about that. This section, early societies, deals with two things related to the early societies of humans. This society, without the human, no society can be even thought also. There is no thought process without the human. There will be no concept of society, and the human being cannot live without a society. So the first theme, it describes the beginning of human existence from the past millions of years ago. We learn from human beings first appeared in Africa and how archaeologists have created the history of early phases of human life. By examining the remains of bones and the stone tools. These are the two things. After their examination, our archaeologists, they have started depicting about that, telling about that, from which year human existence or human appearance took place on the earth. When did human appear on the earth? They also tried to find out, they means archaeologists, they also tried to find out the shelters in which the early humans lived, the food they ate by gathering, that is the plant produce, and hunting wild animals, both the things, plant produce as well as the wild animals, both the things they were eating as the food. The other significant developments include the discovery of fire, which was very important discovery done by human being, and the use of language, how to communicate, the communication with the other people, how it took place. So all such things we will discuss inside this chapter from the beginning of time. Finally, we will discuss whether the people who live by hunting and gathering food today can help us to understand the past. This is the most important thing. By studying all these things, whether it will help us to understand the past, the recognition and the appearance of the human being on the earth. This is the most important thing which we are coming to discuss inside the chapter. The second theme that deals with the some of the early cities, particularly those of Mesopotamia, means the modern day part of means Iraq, Republic of Iraq. This is the name of the country present day. These cities emerged around the temples and were centers of long distance trade. Even though if we think about that, our country was also having this trade relationship during the Mesopotamian civilization. So just you think a little bit about that, which civilization was there at that time parallel to this Mesopotamian civilization. was the Indus Valley civilization, Harappan civilization, Mohenjo-daro civilization. So in those days also, we were having our trade relation with these countries. The archaeologists excavate those sites which they presume were inhabited by humans and developed into cities. The archaeological evidence, remains of old settlements and abundance of written material are very helpful in reconstructing the lives of different people who lived there. In those days also, can you imagine about that? The people, they were very much aware about that, the teaching learning process, the writing things, language. In the first theme we have just now discussed, from the time of the beginning, the language was developed by the human being at that time. Then in the second theme we are coming to, we will discuss about that. Not only that, the emergence of the cities. Writing and city life means that not only that the communication was developed, but how to keep the records. The writing was also developed by the early humans. The moment the concept of civilization was developed, they also have developed the writing. Not only that, but how to preserve it for the future reference. So such things are written over here. The archaeological evidence, that is remains of old settlement. Old settlements, their remains were also, after the excavation, these archaeologists, they found. Then other things are there. Abundance of written material are very helpful. Mesopotamian civilization is recognized for it. It means that the writing which was engraved by the people and preserved by the people of the Mesopotamian civilization. This is the very important thing which was done by Mesopotamian people. Those people includes, now who they were involved in these all such tasks, craftsmen, who they were not only that they involved in the production, but they were also the traders and the merchants, scribes, who they were supposed to write down all these things, laborers, priests, kings and the queens. The concept of civilization was there. King, queen, labor, scribe, craftsperson, all were there in living in the society. In some of these towns, the pastoral people, nomadic people, they just kept on moving from one place to another along with the cattle as well as the goods. So these pastoral people played an important role. This study makes us think whether the many activities they went on in the early cities were possible if writing had not developed. So this is the study. This is the introduction, what it says about that. If suppose we study about all these things, this makes us think. This is the study makes us think whether the many activities that went on in the early cities, all these the things which were taking place in early cities were only possible. How it is possible? Because of that the writing had not developed, which has, if the writing had not developed, then all such things, to know about that the early cities, to know about that the past, it was very difficult. Then it comes about the stages of evolution of early societies and cities, how they evolved, how they developed. So the different stages of the evolution in early societies as well as the cities. So inside these chapters, the first two chapters of this section, the first theme is about that which is mentioned at the chapter 2. Chapter 2, it is mentioned, the beginning of the time is the name of the chapter. There we have to study about all such things. Along with that, the development of the cities, evolution of the early cities and the societies. So we also learn in these two chapters about how people for millions of years lived in forest, caves or temporary shelters. The concept of that, houses were not developed. Eventually, it evolved into a settled life of villages and towns. But gradual development is there. The concept of the towns and cities were developed, as well as the development was there with that. The villages, then agriculture, all such things we will discuss inside that. Several developments took place at least 5,000 years before the establishment of the first city, when it was 5,000 years back. The first city was developed. Then the shift from nomadic life to settled agriculture life began 10,000 years ago. Then theme 1 described the lives of humans as hunter and gatherers and how they became agriculturalists. The life started on the earth in a form of a hunter and gatherer. The hunting and gathering was the main thing for the people, how to survive on the earth. The concept of agriculture was not found in the very beginning. But gradually, these people, the nomadic people, the early people, the primitive people, they have developed the concept of the agriculture. So the settled agriculture had a great impact on the lives of the human. And it is said by the archaeologists, by the historians, moment that they have started the development of agriculture, the settled life, that is the beginning of the settled life, started for the human being. The first, they began to domesticate animals such as sheep, goats, cattle and pigs. And second, they now began to weave cloth with the help of plant fibers. These all are the evolution, the change, the development, progress. So what it says that not only that the first they have started domestication of animals, but gradually now they have started weaving of the cloth with the help of the plant fibers like cotton and animal fibers such as wool. They also domesticated animals and harnessed them to plow and carts. Not only for the plowing of the field, but they also started using these animals to pull the carts. So not only that the discovery of fire took place, but the discovery of wheel was also done by the early humans. Then loads were also carried on the back of the animals. So this was, we can understand about that and we can think about that, how these the early humans, with their appearance on the earth, they have started thinking about all these things. At this stage, some communities learned the art of making earthen pots. So first of all, what we have seen, discussed about that, the domestication of animals, weaving of cloth, then by using the fibers, then the use of the plow for the cultivation of the fields, the agriculture practices was developed. Then these animals were also used to pull the cart. Animals' back were also used to carry the loads. So now coming to discuss about that, at this, all these the gradual development were taking place. So now what happened with the some communities? A group of people, communities means what? Means the group of people, now they have learned art of making earthen pots. With that, the discovery of wheel. The potter's wheel has also been developed, where they have started making earthen pots. The pots were used to store grains and other produce and were also used for cooling. They used fire to make food, especially meat digestible for humans. With time, the methods of making stone tools changed. When we will have to discuss inside the chapter, then Paleolithic age, Neolithic age, then Chalcolithic age, also known as the Copper age. So their gradual development started taking place. Then what it comes under this? With the time, methods of making stone tools changed, though earlier methods continued side by side. Now some tools and equipments were smoothened and polished by an elaborate process of grinding. Now sharpening of the tools also started taking place. So all these are showing that the gradual development, evolution, how they evolved. New equipments include mortars and pestles for preparing grains. Now after the cultivation, food grains are available. So how to grind them? The mortar and the pestle has also been developed. The stone axes and the hoe were used for clear land for digging the earth for sowing seeds. How to dig the earth, how to remove the top layer of the soil, how to use for the sowing of the seeds and the cultivation, everything started taking place. In some areas, metals such as copper and tin were used to tip the oats. Gradually, metals were more extensively used for jewelry and tools. Now the people not only they have started wearing the clothes, but they are also becoming fascinated with that, the wearing of the jewelry, wearing of the ornaments. And the metal, the first metal was the copper, which was found in a lump, a very sparkling red color metal was found, and the early humans, they have started using it for the making of their jewelry as well as for the tools. The people were becoming familiar with other kinds of produce, which they procured from the distant places, both by land and sea. Both the way. What is this? The people, they are becoming very familiar with the other kinds of procured from the distance, other kinds of produce. Now they have started becoming very familiar with that. But how to procure? How to bring it? So they have started using it, bringing it from the distant lands also. With that, the trade and business. Mesopotamian civilization is having trade relation with India. India means that the Harappan civilization, the Indus Valley civilization. So the exchange of goods and commodities were there in those days also. So these goods were wood, stone, precious and semi-precious stones, metals, shells and hardened volcanic lava, the black color. In the later part of the chapters, we will have to study about that, the concept of the jewelry making and how the beads were prepared and how these are been brought from as an import item from the distant lands. The villages and towns soon evolved into small states due to the increase in the emergence of trade. Now, first, the concept of village was there. With that, the invention of the agriculture started giving the settled life, the concept of settled life to the early humans. Then the concept of village and the towns and the cities were developed. But with the emergence of the trade and business, concept of small states started. These changes came slowly to took several thousand years. But this process took several thousand years. Right from the settled life to the village, to the towns, as well as the concept of the states, and the entire process took a very long time period to establish. The growth of small cities quickened the pace of change. The lives of the humans were transformed beyond recognition. Some scholars have therefore described it as a revolution. Some of the scholars, they are calling it as a revolution because of that, the gradual change which was experienced by the people. So far, we have studied few examples of early societies. There were other kinds of early societies such as farming communities or pastoral communities. There were also hunter-gatherers as well as the city dwellers. So all such things in both these two chapters, this is the introductory chapter, also considered as the chapter 1, only gives about that the section A, about the means a broad summary about that, a brief summary about that, how we are going to discuss, what are the things which we are going to discuss inside the chapter, and what is the importance of the early societies in our life. How these archaeologists, they try to bring it all such things in our knowledge to by giving the ideas of the different sections like the agriculture, like trade and business, then weaving, then food, how the early humans they have started procuring it from the nature, then with the discovery of fire, how it has become very means the digestible for the people, which also brought the concept with that the discovery of fire, discovery of wheel, then the metals which were started discovering by them, they have just started making using it with the by making jewelries, by making tools and all such things for the gradual development. The development from that the settled life to this concept of a city and the state, it took the thousands of years to give what we are today. Just try to imagine about that, how our early humans, they have started making it in a very the perfect way. Always they are trying to discover, they are trying to invent to give them more comfort to their life. So our concern is not like that. We have to discuss about that in these first two themes. The first theme, the beginning of the time, then the second theme is about the writing and city life. Inside these two chapters, we have to study about that, the gradual development in human life. So this is all about this introduction. Now we will have to proceed with the first chapter from the beginning of the